12 years and still a captain. He didn't raise his voice when he said it. That was always his way. Quiet sentences that stayed longer than louder ones. We were standing in his office, the offer already printed and placed between us. It wasn't a suggestion, it was structured, thought through. Aligned with everything he believed I should be. I read it once, then again, not because I didn't understand, but because I knew what saying no would mean. I'm staying where I am, I said. He didn't react immediately. Just leaned back slightly, like he was recalculating something that had already been decided. You built something there, he said. That's fine. But you're not moving. It wasn't a question, I didn't argue. There wasn't a version of that conversation where I won. There was only the version where I left with the decision intact. So I did. 19 days later. My access was restricted. Not fully revoked. Just limited. Enough to be noticeable. Enough to people to start asking questions they didn't want answers to. The email came through official channels. Formal language. No emotion. Security review initiated. Possible breach of protocol. Digital correspondence under examination. My name was attached to something I hadn't written. I read it twice, then stopped reading. The structure was familiar. Not just the phrasing, the intent. It was written the way someone builds a case, not sends a message. There was no accusation yet, just implication. That was worse. Colleagues stopped finishing conversations. Meetings continued without me. No one said anything directly. They didn't need to. I had seen it before, just not from this side. The investigator arrived 3 days later. He didn't introduce himself with authority. No display, no pressure. Just a quiet presence that didn't rush anything. He asked for access logs. Construction architecture. Things that had nothing to do with the email. At least not on the surface. I gave him everything. He didn't ask me if I wrote it. That was the first thing that didn't follow the pattern. Time stretched in a way that didn't feel linear. Days passed, but nothing resolved. My name existed in a kind of suspension, still there but not stable. At night, I kept thinking about the facility. 6 months under indirect fire. Concrete poured in shifts, systems designed to hold under pressure. Redundancies built into every layer. I knew every corner of that structure. Every line, every access point. And the more I thought about it, the clearer something became. The email wasn't just forged, it was placed. The investigator returned without warning, same posture, same tone, but this time, he didn't ask for anything. He sat across from me and placed a folder on the table. Not open, just there. I spent 6 months inside your system, he said, not the digital one. I didn't respond. The physical structure, he continued. There was no accusation in his voice. Just observation. He opened the folder then, turning it slightly, not toward me, not fully toward himself. Who else had access to the internal relay points? It wasn't a trick question, it wasn't even a difficult one. But it carried something else, context. I answered carefully. Names, roles, levels of clearance. My father's wasn't on the list. Not officially. The investigator nodded once, like he expected that. Then he closed the folder again. What followed wasn't immediate, no confrontation. No sudden resolution. Just a shift. Meetings resumed but differently. Conversations started including me again, though cautiously. My access returned in stages, each step quiet, undocumented. The email was no longer referenced directly, it didn't need to be. A week later, I was called into a review room. Not a hearing, not disciplinary. Just formal. The investigator was there, so were 2 others from oversight. My father wasn't. They didn't ask me to explain anything. Instead, they explained what had been found. Not in detail, not in a way that invited reaction, just enough. The origin point of the message didn't align with my access logs. The relay used had been physically rerouted, temporarily, precisely. By someone who understood both the system and the structure. Someone who had walked through it. Someone who hadn't needed permission. There was no mention of intent, no speculation, just conclusion. The room stayed quiet after that, not heavy, not tense, just settled. You're cleared to resume full duties, one of them said. That was it. No apology, no acknowledgement of what it had cost, just restoration. I nodded. There wasn't anything else to do. Outside the facility looked the same. Same walls, same weight in the air. But it felt different. Not because it had changed. Because I didn't call him, he didn't call me. There was no final conversation waiting to happen. No moment where everything was explained or undone. What he did wasn't undone by what was found. And what was found didn't repair what he had chosen. My position held. My name was steady again. But whatever he had expected me to return to, it wasn't there anymore.